Hello and welcome to what is going to be kind of a mishmash of things in relation to Project 5. You'll see that up here on the screen is the Project 5 sheet from D2L. I'm going to read over this and make some comments, and then I'm going to pop over to Photoshop and talk about the sizing and resolution that's talked about down here. Quickly read over this Project 5. Project 5 entails using photographic imagery from Projects 1 and 2 to create unique and new collages. Keep in mind that your strongest images from Project 1 and 2 will likely be the strongest images to collage with. Please experiment with different possibilities and combinations of imagery in order to arrive at the strongest final images. These images should be thought of as singular efforts that don't have to fit together as a group. The goal of this project is to create seamless, not necessarily natural, composites that demonstrate basic technical skills. Okay, a couple things to consider are the selections and pacing done in a seamless manner. What approach are you taking in terms of how evident the collage is? Is it super obvious, or is it very subtle? In the first video that I did today, I talked about the idea of opacity, cranking opacity down. That would be a potential sort of way to create less obvious sort of collage. So think about what you're doing, how you're approaching that. Project requirements right down here. You're going to hand in 3 files, 3 composites or collages. Okay, 3 files. Each of those files, each composite, has to include at least 2, you can include more, images from projects 1 and 2. I don't care how you combine these, you're not required to use one from line and one from shape, etc. I'm just saying you use projects 1 and 2, and again, I mentioned this in the first video, any of the images, not necessarily the 10 or whatever it was that you handed in. You can go back to your 50 images. That means you should have somewhere in the range of 200 images to potentially work with. Okay, so 2 of those images are going to go together to form one collage, and you're going to do 3 of those. I keep repeating these because often people are sort of confused. You are handing in 3 files that contain at least 2 files. Okay, and when I sort of talk about the sizing, hopefully it'll make even more sense. Your collage image is going to be sized to 10 inches on the longest side. Never will I specify it be 10 by 7.5. All our cameras actually have a different what's called aspect ratio, and therefore the longest side is going to simply be the thing that we determine, 10 inches. And I'll show you in a minute that the width, or sorry, the other, whether it's the height or width, is going to adjust accordingly. You're going to make these 150 pixels per inch. And I'll show you that here in a second. And also saved as first name, last name, collage1.tiff, collage2.tiff, etc. Okay, this is due Tuesday, December 2nd. This is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. Note that the due date is Tuesday at 11:59. I know that people travel. Thanksgiving is a big holiday. Instead of having this due right when you come back on Monday, I'm giving you 1 extra day to do this. That's giving you several weeks to do this at this point. So once you're done with the kind of exercise portion, meaning the motel image and the clouds image that I did in the first video, you should be working on this project. That is your main goal in the coming 2 weeks here. Okay. With all that said, I'm going to pop over into Photoshop and kind of talk about the sizing and potentials in terms of this project. So I'm going to first minimize this and pop over here. I have 2 images. One image right here, kid in a hammock. I have it selected, and I have another image over here of just sort of a textural thing, kind of window. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring him in the hammock, because I have it nicely selected, over to this image and size it. Okay, I want specific sizes, and all your cameras shoot images, and the original images that you probably have are much larger in terms of physical size as well as resolution. They're all going to be different in a nutshell. I don't know what all of them are, because you all have different cameras, but I'm going to sort of show you what I'm looking for. So say, and I'm not talking about this sort of collage portion, I'm just sort of mocking up a potential. This would be sort of 1/3 of your project if you did something like this, meaning you have 1 of the 3 images done. I have him selected. I'm going to edit, copy. I'm going to wait. I'm going to come over to Window, and I'm just going to simply edit paste. This was kind of the similar version of bringing the motel sign over to the clouds image that we did. And I'm going to position him with the move tool right there. Okay, let's say that's my project. Let's say I'm happy with that. Okay, what I'm going to do once I'm happy with that is size it accordingly. So I'm going to go to Image, Image Size. Okay, and this is where we decide how big these things are going to be. First and foremost, we need to have all of these three boxes checked down here. Okay, those are going to make sure that our image sizes proportionally, and we don't basically ask it to do more than it can in terms of how many pixels it has. Now this image is a horizontal image. The longest side is obviously going to be its width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in 10, and that's 10 inches. We're going to make sure these are set at inches. Don't have them at centimeters or millimeters or points. Make sure they're at inches. And then you'll see when I typed in that 10, this 6.667 just sort of popped in there. If I were to type in any number, 12, it changes to 8. It's changing proportionally, okay? Meaning that it's changing so that it doesn't warp, change the actual sort of ratio between height and width. This is basically a 3:2 ratio, which is very common in cameras, meaning that sort of the longest side is 3 and the shortest side is sort of 2 in terms of that what's called aspect ratio. So next thing I need to do is go down to this resolution. I'm going to type in 150. Now at this moment I have 10 inches at the longest side and I have the resolution at 150. That's correct. That's what I need to sort of hand in. Last thing I'm going to note is right up here where it says pixel dimensions. You'll note that this says it was 22.8 megabytes and now it's 4.29 megabytes. What that means is we're making the original file size smaller. That's a good thing or an acceptable thing in terms of Photoshop. We never want this number really to go higher than that number. If we did, we would be basically asking the computer to do more, or sorry, the image to sort of have more photographic information than it has. Okay, so just watch that. So I'm going to click OK. This is going to actually pop probably a little bit smaller. Just waiting. And I'm going to actually save this so you guys can see. Now it isn't that big, like it isn't that tiny. Never sort of get confused by how big things are on the screen. If you want to go check, you can go to Image, Image Size. I know now that that's 10 by 6 at 150. That's a decent size if you wanted to print something, and a decent size to sort of hand in. Okay. Now, when it comes to saving, I'm going to go to File, Save As. And I'll just save this thing to the desktop. You're going to be calling this your first and last name, David Luke, underscore, sorry, I think I said collage, not college, college 1, and we're going to save these as TIFFs, okay? So you're going to have, your first name, last name, underscore collage 1, collage 2, and collage 3.tiff. Remember, never type in TIFF, always choose this format TIFF here. I'm going to hit save, and then you're often going to get this window. Let's just hit OK. If you get, and I didn't get it, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, a window that says something like saving a file with layers increases file size, that's okay. We don't care about that. Okay, so this is a version of one collage. I have an image from one project, an image from another project, and I put the two together. You're doing this 3 times. Okay, I'm really interested in the sort of technical, and I'm going to zoom in here, and you'll see, and I'm going to a little bit smaller. You'll see, even though I sort of did this, or this is actually an old selection, the selection on that is pretty darn good. Okay, meaning that the sort of edge here is very accurate. Okay, we've all seen stuff in our lives that looks quote-unquote photoshopped, meaning that it looks sloppy and cut out. That starts with your selections and sort of ends when you paste. If you paste something down and see that it looks awful, you're probably going to have to go back and adjust that selection. So this project is really about choosing imagery, choosing a particular shape, and pasting it down either into, onto, or one of the kind of three ways that we went over in those last videos. Don't forget, there's some fun in this opacity. I can sort of crank something like this down, and I'm cranking down the opacity of that layer there, and I get a bit of the texture sort of coming through there. Okay. Note that you can sort of paste things down more than once. Okay, I'm going to paste him down, and since I changed the resolution, he's a little bit bigger. But let's just sort of have some fun with this. Whoop. And change the opacity on him. And we have a very different collage, or sort of a different version of this collage. It is up to you. Have fun with this, play with this. Again, choose your best images from projects 1 and 2. Line, shape, color, and texture. There's probably a lot of, especially in shape, a lot of shapes, very distinct shapes that can be selected in a very particular way and then pasted into or pasted down onto other images. Have some fun with this. I keep sort of saying that and mean that in the sense that I think there's a lot that can be done visually, creatively to create some interesting imagery here. Okay, I think that's it for this. Remember, you're doing your motel and clouds image. You're handing both of those in. I'm looking for the 2 different types of collages on the motel image, and then the one collage, meaning the motel pasted down onto the clouds. Those we're going over in detail on those 2 videos. And then you should start working on these Project 5 images. Please also note there is a short discussion that is due as well on that sort of December or that Tuesday. 2 photographers that are going to make up part of the quiz towards the end of the semester. Email me with any questions. Please also note, and I've worked with a few students, not a lot of people take advantage of the office hours. They're 9 to 11 on Monday mornings. I am on chat. It's a good place to just basically chat with me. I can sort of open up a file potentially and walk you through whatever problems you might be having. I've done that with a few students and think you should take advantage of it if you haven't. So that's it. Email me with any questions, and looking forward to seeing some collages.